This is Here We Go Sports. Let's break down the Colts game now.
Let's go. Yeah. I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Anthony Richardson. His first half being pretty good. Second half, as it went through, kind of got dicey. Josh Downs and what he didn't do and what he did do. Michael Pittman, we're going to talk a little about how he turned out in this game. He started off a little slow, but he got in there. And what the hell was Coach Steichen thinking of? Not kicking the field goal there at the end. He explains, but we'll get into that. Offensive line looked halfway decent, but gave up something weird number, and we'll get into that. Defense looked good as well, but however, let's get into this. This is Here We Go Sports, and we're going to talk about the Colts. Okay, so Anthony Richardson in his first NFL game, first half, he's 11 for 14 for 98 yards. He looked good. Now, he didn't break the 100-yard for the first half, but he looked extremely good. His passes looked pretty tight. They looked good. He looked good overall. He was scrambling. He was making things happen. The offensive line was protecting him for the most part. He did what he had to do, but it wasn't anything great, but it kept them in the ball game, and they looked like they were contenders for winning this ball game against Jacksonville as of the first half. But what I didn't like is Josh Downs really didn't get into the game. I thought he'd be more participant of the football game. He had a couple of drops. He had 3 receptions for 30 yards, 10 yards apiece, basically. It's kind of really disappointed in that. And I don't think it's so much that Anthony wasn't looking for him. He just wasn't getting any separation, I don't think. And he's one of our best cut guys in route. So I don't really know what's going on there. However, he didn't get hardly any passes to him. Like I said, 3 for 30 yards, and they were kind of limited. And I think that was, for the most part, the entire first half. Overall, though, Anthony Richardson ended up being 24 for 37 for 223 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. All right, the interception was toward the end of the game. He was being rushed. The game was kind of on the line. He needed to drive the team down to get a touchdown. It was kind of like a game-winning drive. And he went deep, and as he said, his exact explanation was he threw it a little flat, and therefore they got intercepted. I really don't know if that's really what happened, but what we can do is just go with what he said. Maybe he meant to argue a little bit, or he didn't see the back there, but nevertheless, it got picked off, which allowed Jacksonville to get another touchdown and put them up by 10. And at that point, we were kind of like our backs against the wall. But the offensive line overall looked good. Anthony Richardson had time. He did scramble out to the outside a little bit. He stepped up a little bit. They allowed 4 sacks. And I wish I was writing this down as the game was going along, because I could think of 2, but I couldn't think of 4. I'm kind of surprised on the 4. I'm beginning to wonder, because I think we quarterback sneaked it on a 4th down, didn't get it, and that was probably considered a sack. I think we did that twice. That would be 2 of the 4 sacks. So if that's what they're counting it as, that's how we got our 4 sacks, because he really was not pressured very much. The offensive line looked extremely good. They did what they had to do. Our running game, trash. We couldn't get anything going at all. Hall, which looked halfway decent, Got injured early in the game. After he left, it was trash. It wasn't great when he was in. It was trash after he left. We have to figure something out for this running game. This second game, we have to figure out how to run the ball. And it's not so much our offensive line, because I'm telling you, our offensive line was opening up holes. They weren't lasting very long, but the holes were there. A back that would have time in the NFL, that had some speed, could burst through those holes, would have got some yards out of them. We didn't have a running back who could do that. That was playing. Anyhow, we'll not mention any names. Really didn't care for Shane Steichen at the end of the game. So, believe it or not, Anthony Richardson got us down to the goal line. I mean, I think we were down to the 4, the 3, something like that. But we could have kicked a field goal with like a minute and a half left, 2 timeouts, and he chose not to do it. Now, he explains in his press conference that what he was trying to do is get the touchdown and an onside kick for a field goal. But you are taking yourself out of the position to get an onside kick for the touchdown too. I don't know. I didn't like it, because if he would have kicked the field goal with a little more than a minute and a half left, we would have been down by 7. Onside kick, if we would have had a chance for an onside kick and recovered it, we could have had the chance to actually score. So I didn't understand that at all. And please leave comment, and maybe you can. I didn't like his explanation. I don't know who did, but I didn't feel comfortable with that explanation, and I didn't like how then the game kind of feathered out. We didn't go very deep very much, so I think that had to do with a lot of our stagnant offense kind of there toward the end of the game. Defense looked good. They did excellent job until about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I think they just got exhausted because we were going 3 and outs like 3-4 times in a row there toward the end of the game. And I think they were just exhausted. But, I mean, 3 sacks, a fumble recovery for a touchdown, 1 interception, and that was DeVorce Butler. He had that forced fumble on practically a sack, and it was. I mean, to me, I wasn't for sure if it was an incomplete pass. I didn't hear the whistle. That was a crazy. So what happened was, Trevor Lawrence got hit. The ball kind of wobbles forward, and I couldn't really tell if his arm was going forward with the ball or not. Slow motion, obviously wasn't. They did a replay, but they let it play out. Okay, no whistles were blown. Everybody just kind of stayed there and looked at the ball. The ball was picked up. The Jaguars, and he just kind of stood there. And so he got knocked out of his hands, ran in for the touchdown. So there was a fumble, a recovery without anybody really realizing it, a forced fumble, a recovery, and for the touchdown. So it was a mess of a play. It was kind of wild. That'll probably never happen again. It also gave us the lead by 4 in the fourth quarter. So we couldn't get anything going offensively until there toward the end of the game. And Anthony Richardson, he got hit. So I'm gonna step back to the second quarter. Anthony Richardson ran it around the corner for about 6 yards, 8 yards maybe. He got tackled. He got up and he's kind of limping. He never left the game. Going into the fourth quarter with 50 seconds left, he tries to basically kind of sneak it into the end zone. Gets hit in the back of the head. He goes to the ground. He stays there. They come out and get him. They lift him up. Gardner Minshew finishes the game that we lost. But the injury to his knee, he says he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. I'm not really sure why they didn't have him come back in to play the game. They left Gardner Minshew in, but it is what it is. But yeah, that was a crazy game. We lost that game 21-31, and we were up 21-17. Not real sure how that happened in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left, but that was the game in total. Okay. We had quite a bit of catches made by Michael Pittman Jr. all in the second half. He was 8 catches for 97 yards. He basically was the only receiver that was getting open. And that kind of bothers me. I don't know, because I don't know that he was the only one getting open, or if he was the only one being found open, or if he was, if Anthony Richardson was not just finding anybody else open because he wasn't going through his progressions quick enough. Like I said, Downs had 3 receptions for 30 yards. It wasn't a whole lot. That was basically our offense. We had two tight ends get a couple catches. Our offense was a little bit stagnant, other than Anthony Richardson running it. And that 223 yards is a total with the 40 yards rushing. So he ended up with about 180 yards throwing the ball. And that's a lot, considering that you got Pittman for 8 for 97, and he got Downs 3 for 30. So that's 100, so he got another 20, 30 yards with the tight ends. It just, I don't know. The game did not look as fluid as it should. Now, with that said, Anthony Richardson as a rookie quarterback looked good. He did. He had nothing deep. I think his deepest pass was 20 yards. But he had nothing deep. And I think that's what was hurting our offense. But keep myself from rambling on forever. Let me know your thoughts of this game. And let me know what you think about Shane Steichen not kicking the field goal. Because I think that was really weird. Because I think any other coach would have probably kicked that. Tell me how you guys think that should have went. Should he kick that field goal? Tell me what you think I'm off on. Please, by all means, leave those comments. If you didn't like, scroll down, find something you did like. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that bell, and you'll know when I post. And I will catch you on the next one.